using a relationship as resistance to the outside world, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff on this album that has maybe gone, my interpretation of his lyrics has maybe gone a little bit more personal than previous albums. I mean, Absolution obviously was, had that kind of real apocalyptic vibe about it, and then Black Holes was, a lot about conspiracy theories and things. And there were certain things in the lyrics on this that reminded me a little bit of Showbiz, where, I think most of what he was singing about on Showbiz was all very personal stuff. So it's kind of nice to hear that kind of come back round again,
In September 25th, 2008, all of you received an honorary degree. It was from the University of Plymouth. And I'm wondering what went through your head, because I think all of you dropped out of college, right?
Yeah, well, what went through my head was I look like a right twat in this gown. It was... well, because I thought we were going to have to wear like just the normal black gowns that everybody else wears when they're graduating. But we had like these blue and orange things on. I mean, they were these really grand kind of, gowns that we had on. And we weren't really expecting all of that. And obviously it was something that, was an honour to receive. And there was a lot of, very famous and influential people that had been given these honorary doctorates before. But yeah, we didn't realise quite what a big deal it was. And we went in there and we were sort of sat up on this podium for the whole show while all these people were being given their degrees and stuff, and then they sort of did this big sort of 15-minute speech about us and what we'd done, and we were just sort of sitting on this little podium feeling really, really uncomfortable. And we felt a bit guilty as well, because we were sort of like, all these kids out there have been working their asses off for 4 years to get their degrees, and we've just been given these doctorates for free, Didn't seem fair somehow, but it was great. It was a nice experience, and it was something that was obviously a very nice gesture to be.
But we could call you Doctor.
Yeah. Well, I was going to put it on my driver's license,
Do you remember your very first U.S. showcase? I think it was December of 1998, and I think it was for Columbia Records. They flew you to L.A., and among the people there were Rick Rubin, a very famous producer. I don't think you've worked with him, but was that a maddening experience for you guys? Was it a nerve-wracking event?
It was a really, really strange time, because, we'd been in a band for, 5 years or so. And that kind of 6 months sort of between, I guess the middle of 1998 towards the end of 1998 was when all of a sudden we were getting interest from all these labels, and we were flown to New York by, I think it was Silvertone, who were the first sort of interested label. We went and did a showcase there, and then we flew to LA to do a showcase for Columbia, which is why Rick Rubin was there, because he had something to do with American Records, I think it was. And it was bizarre, because we were being flown around, on these, first class flights to LA, and then flying home and going down to the Dole office, and signing on again, So it was kind of bizarre, because we were sort of living this rock and roll life, and it was sort of coming in little flashes, we'd have like 2 or 3 days of like staying in great hotels and flying first class, and then going home and still living at home with my mum, no job, no money, it was very, very bizarre. So it was very, very strange times, but it was really exciting as well. I mean, the kind of excitement that was around then was something that, a band only really gets to experience once.
You are the family man in the group. You got married at 19, had your first kid at 21. You have 4 children, I believe. I'm curious how you balance family life with the life of this incredibly popular and busy rock band.
It's very difficult, It's I think for a band like us, obviously, because we probably tour a lot more than other bands, because I think the one thing that's really shocked us as a band is the amount of success we've had outside of England, particularly in non-English speaking countries. And obviously that's a great thing for the band, but obviously the downside is that you spend a lot of time on the road. But, I mean, you kind of have to have rules in place, there's a certain amount of time that I'm kind of not prepared to go away for, I sort of have my limits where I have to have a week at home. And you just have to, you have to just try and balance it without compromising one or the other too much, And, if you get to the point where one is compromising the other too much, then, you've got a bit of a problem. But so far that's not happened, And, so far I'm hanging in there, But, I enjoy playing music too much, And I know that if I went home and wasn't involved in music and I was working in a bank or doing whatever, I wouldn't be as happy. And when I am away, I'm away for long periods of time, but when I do go home, I spend quality time with the kids, which is probably more so than people in normal jobs, because they go home and they're tired and they just can't deal with the kids, go to bed. I don't really have that. So.
2 more questions before we let you go. One is, I was watching the video Harp from your Wembley performance, and watching those kids sing along with you, very much reminded me of Wembley's the old Wembley at Live Aid when Queen was performing and people were clapping along to Radio Gaga. Intense moment that, I don't know if you've seen it or if you've ever gone to the old Wembley, but that audience reaction was to a fever pitch. And you've played at every size venue, from the smallest club and theater to Wembley Stadium. But when you're in that home vibe, what is that like for you?
Well, Wembley was just something else, you know. It was, I think, because playing stadiums is way, way, way beyond what we ever expected the band would do, you know. And you know, the kind of bands that we grew up listening to would play to maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people, and they were the kind of gigs that we were going to. So for us at the time, that was what being big was. You know, I never really went to any arena rock shows, let alone stadium rock. So yeah, I mean, to play at Wembley was very, very emotional. And there was a lot of build-up to it as well. I mean, the gig was booked 9 months before we actually played, and we were sort of obviously touring throughout that whole build-up to it, but the whole kind of time we were just thinking about Wembley and preparing for it. And then it kind of finally arrived, and we had, you know, the week before was just chaos, you know, people phoning us every 5 minutes for tickets, and because it was just like all the family and all the friends wanted to go, and then obviously by the time we got to the gig, it was a really weird experience, because it just sort of, all of a sudden we were there, you know, and we were on this big thing in the middle of the pitch that sort of raised up, and we appeared right in the middle, and I can remember sort of looking around, and because I'm a big football fan as well, and it kind of felt like the kind of old sort of European football matches you see on the telly with all the cameras flashing everywhere and just so loud, you know. It was ridiculously loud, and it was just an experience that I'll never forget. And then we got on stage, and I think we played for 2 hours, and it just went so quickly. And I was thinking a lot about the past during that gig, you know. I was thinking about when we used to do little gigs at the Cavern Club in Exeter, near where we lived, and the gigs where we used to play to 4 people, and then we were there, you know, 2 nights at Wembley Stadium, and it was amazing. It was really incredible.
Football, you like Rotherham United? Is that your home team?
Yeah, yeah. They're only a small club, you know. They're kind of in the lowest of the 4 main divisions, but yeah, we're hoping for promotion this season. I do sometimes, yeah.
My final question, sir, is I don't know, you're probably aware of this, but the top 12 list, everyone's got a list, and a top 12 list came out, but published by an actual nation. And you share space on this list of 12 with Mozart, the song Don Giovanni, with Tupac Shakur, and with a song called Advocata Nostra. Do you know who put this list out?
I have no idea, no.
You were on the top 12 of the Vatican, a nation.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah, I did. I heard something about it. It's a pretty broad list, isn't it?
You had Tupac Shakur and Mozart, and this Advocata Nostra is the actual Pope himself. Would you have ever imagined in your earliest days that you'd be on a recommended list, perhaps a banned list, but a recommended list by the Pope's nation, the Vatican?
Absolutely not. No, that's there's a lot of things that have happened that I never expected, but this takes the biscuit, really.
Takes the biscuit. Maybe a gig at the Vatican? Would you consider it?
Possibly. Right. You know, there's a first for everyone, isn't there? So I don't think that's ever happened, or maybe it has. I don't know, but yeah, we'd consider that definitely.
Chris, thank you so much for spending some time with us at MMR, and welcome back to Philly. Great to have you.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Cheers.